Lucifer wasn't his name, and Satan is not who you think he is. Most people imagine Satan as some sort of a red-skinned rebel, a fallen angel who declared a war on God. He's the one that got cast into hell. But when you actually read the Bible carefully, that story is never told. Ask almost anyone who Satan is, and you'll hear the same story. He's a beautiful angel, prideful, rebellious. There was a war in heaven, a fall, and now he's the ruler of hell. It seems ancient. It feels obvious. Everyone knows who Satan is, but they're wrong. Satan is probably not what you think. When Satan first appears in the Bible, he isn't hiding in hell, he's standing in God's court. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. Job 1:6. But wait, he's not standing in cuffs. Shouldn't Satan the rebel be in trouble? Why does God allow Satan to be in his presence? To understand this, we have to look at the original Hebrew. The Hebrew word Satan means accuser, adversary, or opponent. Satan isn't the devil's name, it's a role. Satan is the accuser. And this is actually really important to realize because a monster is easy to reject. An accuser isn't, because Satan uses truth to accuse, just enough truth to wound us. Okay, but if Satan isn't the devil's name, then what is? The name Lucifer doesn't appear when Satan is first introduced. It actually appears later in a poem. It says, "How you were fallen from heaven, O day star, son of dawn, how you were cut down to the ground, you who laid the nations low." Isaiah 14:12. Some Bible translations, such as the King James Version and the New King James Version, actually render day star as Lucifer. In the New King James Version, it says, "How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning, how you are cut down to the ground, you who weakened the nations." If we look at the original Hebrew, the text never says Lucifer. It says Halel ben Shachar. There's no way I'm pronouncing that right. I don't speak Hebrew. But this Hebrew phrase means shining one, morning star, or son of dawn. The word Lucifer actually comes from later Latin translations. In Latin, Lucifer simply means light bringer or morning star. Lucifer was never a proper name. In fact, it had nothing to do with Satan, and it had nothing to do with the devil. Isaiah 14:12 in its context is actually talking about a human king, not the devil. Okay, so if the devil isn't actually named Satan or Lucifer, then why do we call him by these names? The truth is, Satan and Lucifer weren't the same character at first. What we call the devil today is actually a composite figure built slowly across centuries by mixing together different texts, languages, and traditions. To clear the air of all this confusion, let's go back to the very beginning, when this accuser first appeared in the Bible. It says, "Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast on the field." Genesis 3:1. The tempter in the garden was never called by a name. He was simply the serpent. There's no rebellion story, no fall from heaven, no declaration of war against God, just a cunning creature that God created. The idea that the serpent was the devil didn't emerge until many centuries later, when readers reread the story through a developing theology of evil. Eventually, Jesus was born to clear some things up. Jesus used two Greek words to describe the devil, Satanas, or Satan, and Diabolos, or devil. The Greek word for the devil actually means slanderer, or false accuser, and the Greek word for Satan means adversary, or accuser. In fact, when Peter was acting as Jesus' adversary, Jesus actually responded by saying, "Get behind me, Satan," Mark 8:33. When Jesus said this, he reinforced the idea that Satan is just a title that means adversary, rather than a proper name for the devil. After all, it's pretty clear to us that Peter isn't really the devil. Jesus called him that because in that moment he was acting as an adversary. Jesus never gave the devil a proper name. Okay, so if Jesus himself didn't give the devil a proper name, then how do we know who he is? It's in the last book of the Bible where we find an explanation of who the devil is. In Revelation 12:9, John writes, "And the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him." Before you jump to conclusions, this is not the origin of Satan. These events take place inside John's apocalyptic vision. These events haven't happened yet. But John makes it clear that the dragon, the serpent, the devil, and Satan are all the same person. In fact, he calls Satan the deceiver of the whole world. This is very important, because with this understanding, Satan is no longer just an accuser. He's not just a character among many. He's the entire mechanism by which destruction happens. If Satan is the accuser, the deceiver, and the destroyer, then spiritual warfare is not about fighting some red demon in the sky. Satan is the father of lies that sound true, shame that's technically accurate but spiritually lethal, and systems that reduce people to their worst moments. Spiritual warfare is about rejecting the lies in our heads. Satan is in all of us, and the battlefield is our conscience.
So the devil isn't the only devil. Humans can play that role too.
The worst of all snakes is the serpent in your own heart.
One of the acts and arts of reading scripture well is to know what kind of literature you're reading.
And to read it accordingly.
Everything going on in my life was from the devil himself.
We are the origin of all coming evil.
Book of Revelation is apocalyptic literature.
Only 4% of my viewers are currently subscribed, so if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. Maybe the devil was never meant to look like a monster. Maybe that image was comforting, because monsters are easy to point at, easy to blame, easy to keep at a distance. But the Bible doesn't introduce Satan as a ruler of hell. It introduces him as an accuser, a voice that uses truth without love, a voice that condemns instead of restores, a voice that sounds reasonable, but slowly convinces you that you are beyond redemption. Spiritual warfare isn't happening outside of us. It's happening in our hearts, in our thoughts, in our shame, in the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and who God is. Maybe Satan's greatest trick wasn't convincing the world he didn't exist. Maybe it was convincing us that he's somewhere else.